In this 1903 portrait, the girl's eyes shine bright. But they reveal something no one can explain. Dr. Michael Torres had spent 30 years as a pediatric ophthalmologist at Boston Children's Hospital, diagnosing thousands of eye conditions in young patients. On a quiet Saturday afternoon in October 2019, he wandered through a photography exhibition at the Museum of Fine Arts titled Immigrant Families, Portraits from 1900-1920. The images were haunting. Serious faces, formal poses, families dressed in their finest clothes to commemorate their new American lives. Then he stopped in front of one particular photograph. The portrait showed a family of 5, a stern father with a thick mustache, a mother in a high-collared dress, and 3 children ranging from about 4 to 10 years old. The photograph was labeled The Romano Family, Detroit, Michigan, 1903. It was professionally taken in a studio, the family arranged on an ornate bench against a painted backdrop. But it wasn't the composition that caught Michael's attention. It was the children's eyes. All 3 children, 2 girls and a boy, had an unusual white-grayish reflection in their pupils, visible even in the sepia-toned photograph. The effect was subtle, but unmistakable to someone trained to recognize it. Michael pulled out his phone and zoomed in on the image, his heart rate quickening. Leukocoria. The medical term flashed through his mind immediately. White pupil. An abnormal white reflection from the retina, often captured in photographs when light hits the eye at certain angles. In modern photos, it appeared as white spots instead of the typical red eye effect from camera flashes. But leukocoria wasn't just a photographic curiosity. It was a clinical sign, often indicating serious conditions: cataracts, retinal detachment, or, most concerning in children, retinoblastoma, a cancerous tumor of the retina. Michael stared at the photograph, his professional instincts overriding his casual museum visit. 3 children, all showing the same reflection. In 1903, before modern genetics, before chemotherapy, before anyone understood hereditary cancer patterns. He photographed the museum placard with his phone, noting the family name and year. Then he took multiple pictures of the portrait itself, capturing the children's eyes from different angles. Walking out of the museum, Michael couldn't shake the image from his mind. Those children had been dead for probably a century, but that reflection in their eyes told a story that might still matter. Michael couldn't stop thinking about the Romano family portrait. Sunday morning, instead of his usual run along the Charles River, he sat at his home office computer, searching for information about retinoblastoma in the early 1900s. What he found was sobering. In 1903, childhood eye cancers were barely understood. The term retinoblastoma wouldn't be coined until 1926. Treatment options were barbaric by modern standards. Enucleation, the complete removal of the eye, was the only intervention, and it was often performed too late. Survival rates were dismal, but the genetics fascinated him. Retinoblastoma could be hereditary, caused by a mutation in the RB1 gene. When inherited, it often affected both eyes and appeared in multiple family members across generations. The white reflection in photographs, leukocoria, was frequently the first sign parents noticed, captured accidentally in family pictures. Michael opened the photograph he'd taken at the museum and examined it closely on his large monitor. The reflection was bilateral in all 3 children, present in both eyes. That pattern strongly suggested hereditary retinoblastoma rather than the sporadic form. He needed more information. The museum placard had been sparse. Romano family, Detroit, 1903. No first names, no other details. Michael called the Museum of Fine Arts and explained that he was a physician researching historical medical conditions. The curator of the photography department, Amanda Richardson, was intrigued but could offer little additional information. The photograph was donated in 1987 by an estate sale. "We have minimal provenance. Let me check our records." She called back an hour later. The donation came from a Clara Benedetti in Brookline. She passed away in 1995. The estate paperwork listed the photograph as family portrait, early 1900s. "That's all we have. Could you check if there's any connection between Benedetti and Romano?" "Give me a day," Amanda said. "This is fascinating. What exactly are you looking for?" Michael hesitated. I think those children might have had a serious medical condition. If they had descendants, those families could still be at risk today. There was a pause. You mean this 116-year-old photograph could have medical relevance now? Exactly, Michael said. Genetic conditions don't disappear. They pass down through generations. Amanda Richardson proved to be an invaluable ally. By Monday afternoon, she'd uncovered a connection. Clara Benedetti's maiden name was Romano. She'd been born in 1920, making her too young to be one of the children in the photograph, but possibly a niece or cousin. Michael requested access to Detroit Public Records and historical archives. Working with a genealogist colleague, Dr. Patricia Hayes, who specialized in genetic family histories, they began piecing together the Romano family tree. Detroit city directories from 1903 listed Antonio Romano, a factory worker, living on Monroe Street with his wife, Lucia, and children. Cross-referencing with birth and death records revealed the children's names: Maria, age 10, Giuseppe, age 7, and Angelina, age 4. Then Patricia found the death certificates. Her voice was quiet when she called Michael. You were right about the medical condition. Maria Romano died in 1908, age 15. Cause of death: ocular tumor. Giuseppe died in 1910, age 14. Same cause. And Angelina? Michael asked, though he dreaded the answer. That's where it gets interesting. I can't find a death certificate for her in Detroit, but I found a marriage record from 1922. Angelina Romano married Thomas Benedetti, and they had a daughter in 1923, Clara. Michael felt a surge of hope. So Angelina survived? She lived until 1956, Patricia confirmed. Died of heart failure at age 57. No mention of eye problems in her death certificate. But here's the crucial part. I tracked her descendants. She had 3 children: Clara, Anthony, and Maria. Clara died childless, but Anthony and Maria both had families. Are any of them still alive? Patricia sent him a document. Anthony's son, Robert Benedetti, is 72, living in Newton. Maria's daughter, Lisa Romano Chen, she kept both names, is 68, living in Cambridge, and they both have children and grandchildren. Michael stared at the family tree Patricia had constructed. From the 3 Romano children in that 1903 photograph, a sprawling family had emerged, but only through Angelina, the youngest, who had somehow survived what killed her siblings. We need to contact them, Michael said. If this was hereditary retinoblastoma, their families could be carriers. Michael knew he had to approach this carefully. Cold calling people to tell them a 116-year-old photograph suggested their family might carry a cancer gene was delicate at best, potentially traumatic at worst. He decided to start with Robert Benedetti, partly because he was older and might remember family stories, partly because Michael felt more comfortable approaching another man with such sensitive information. The phone rang 4 times before a gruff voice answered. Hello? Mr. Benedetti? My name is Dr. Michael Torres. I'm a pediatric ophthalmologist at Boston Children's Hospital, and I'm researching historical medical conditions. I recently came across a photograph from 1903 that I believe shows your grandmother, Angelina Romano, and her siblings. Would you have a few minutes to talk? There was a long pause. My grandmother, Angelina. She died before I was born. What kind of research? Michael explained carefully. The museum photograph, the unusual reflection in the children's eyes, the medical significance, the death records of Angelina's siblings. Robert's voice changed, becoming more alert. Wait, my father told me something about this. He said his mother lost her brother and sister when she was young, both to some kind of eye disease. It traumatized her. She never wanted to talk about it. Did your father ever have eye problems? Did you? No, nothing. 20/20 vision my whole life. My kids too, as far as I know. How many children do you have? 2, daughters 45, sons 42. Both have kids of their own. I've got 4 grandchildren. Michael's medical training took over. Mr. Benedetti, I know this is unusual, but would you be willing to meet with me? I'd like to show you the photograph and discuss the possibility of genetic testing for your family. If your grandmother's siblings did have hereditary retinoblastoma, there's a chance the gene mutation could still be present in your family, even if it hasn't manifested. You're saying my grandkids could be at risk for eye cancer because of something that happened over 100 years ago? It's possible, Michael said gently. But if they are carriers, early detection and monitoring could save their vision, or even their lives. Robert was quiet for a long moment. My daughter just had a baby, a little girl, 3 months old. Named her Sophia. Michael's chest tightened. Then we should definitely talk. 3 days later, Michael sat in a conference room at Boston Children's Hospital with Robert Benedetti, Robert's daughter Jennifer, and Jennifer's husband David. Baby Sophia slept peacefully in her carrier on the table. Michael had prepared carefully, bringing enlarged copies of the 1903 photograph, medical literature on retinoblastoma, and information about genetic testing. He'd also invited Dr. Sarah Kim, a genetic counselor, to help explain the complexities. Jennifer stared at the photograph, tears forming in her eyes. That little girl is my great-great-grandmother. She was only 4 years old here. Yes, Michael said. And these are her siblings, Maria and Giuseppe. Both died in childhood from what was described as ocular tumors, almost certainly retinoblastoma. Dr. Kim took over, explaining genetics in clear, accessible language. Hereditary retinoblastoma is caused by a mutation in the RB1 gene. When a parent carries the mutation, each child has a 50% chance of inheriting it. People with the mutation have a very high risk, about 90%, of developing the cancer, usually before age 5. But Angelina survived, Robert said. Why? That's an excellent question, Michael replied. There are several possibilities. She might have had a less aggressive form of the tumor that regressed on its own. It happens in rare cases. Or she might have been a carrier who never developed the cancer. Or possibly her siblings had the sporadic form, not hereditary, though the fact that all 3 children showed signs makes that less likely. Jennifer's voice was shaky. How do we know if Sophia has it? We start with genetic testing of willing family members, Dr. Kim explained. We test you, your father, and ideally any other living descendants. If we find the RB1 mutation, we can test Sophia. If she has it, we begin aggressive monitoring. Eye exams every few weeks during her first years. Retinoblastoma is highly treatable when caught early. David spoke for the first time. And if we don't test? If we just ignore this? Michael met his eyes. Then Sophia gets standard pediatric care, which includes occasional vision checks. But retinoblastoma can develop rapidly between routine appointments. By the time symptoms are obvious, the cancer may be advanced. In 1903, that meant death. Today, it could mean losing an eye, or worse. Jennifer reached for her father's hand. We need to test, all of us. While Robert Benedetti's family began genetic testing, Michael turned his attention to the other branch of Angelina's descendants. Lisa Romano Chen had been harder to reach, but when Michael finally connected with her by phone, her reaction surprised him. I know about the eye disease, she said immediately. My mother told me stories about her grandmother Angelina losing her brother and sister. It terrified my mother her whole life. She had all of us kids examined by ophthalmologists constantly when we were young. Did anyone in your family ever develop eye problems? My brother Vincent had some kind of issue when he was 2. I was only 5, so I don't remember details. He had surgery, wore thick glasses afterward, but he's fine now. He's 65, lives in Seattle. Michael's pulse quickened. What kind of surgery? I don't know. My mother never talked about it much. She died 10 years ago. Vincent might remember or have medical records. This is important, Lisa. Would Vincent be willing to talk with me? She hesitated. Why are you really digging into this, Dr. Torres? What's at stake? Michael explained everything. The photograph, the genetic implications, Robert's family, baby Sophia. When he finished, Lisa was quiet for a long moment. I have 3 children, she finally said, and 6 grandchildren. The youngest is 18 months old, my daughter Rebecca's son Lucas. You're telling me they could all be at risk? I'm saying we need to find out. If Vincent had retinoblastoma as a child and it was treated, he almost certainly carries the mutation. That means your branch of the family needs testing too. Lisa's voice became steely with determination. Give me 2 days. I'll get Vincent's medical records and contact all my kids. If there's a chance Lucas or any of my grandchildren could be in danger, we're not waiting. Over the next week, Michael coordinated with families across 3 generations. Patricia Hayes helped construct a comprehensive family tree showing all of Angelina Romano's descendants, 43 people spanning 5 generations, from Robert at 72 down to 3 children under age 2. The scope was staggering. One photograph from 1903 had led them to dozens of lives potentially affected by a genetic legacy over a century old. Vincent Romano, Lisa's brother, provided the breakthrough. His medical records from 1957 documented the diagnosis clearly: bilateral retinoblastoma, treated with radiation therapy. The standard treatment before chemotherapy became available. He'd lost significant vision in his left eye, but had survived. "I was the lucky one," Vincent told Michael during a video call. "My mother caught it early because she was paranoid about eye disease. She'd make me look at lights, check my pupils constantly. The doctors thought she was overprotective. Turns out she saved my life." With Vincent's confirmed diagnosis, the genetic testing became urgent. Dr. Kim coordinated with medical centers in Boston, Seattle, and Detroit, arranging comprehensive RB1 gene sequencing for willing family members. The results came back over 3 weeks, revealing a pattern that was both alarming and illuminating. Vincent carried the RB1 mutation, as expected. His daughter tested positive as a carrier, but had never developed the cancer, one of the 10% who escape manifestation. Her 2 children, ages 12 and 9, were both negative. They'd inherited normal copies of the gene. Lisa herself was negative. She'd inherited a healthy gene from Angelina, but her son Marcus, age 42, tested positive. His daughter Emily, age 14, was negative, but his son Tyler, age 11, carried the mutation. Remarkably, Tyler had never developed the cancer. Robert's family presented a different story. Both Robert and his daughter Jennifer tested negative. Baby Sophia was clear. But when they expanded testing to Robert's son Christopher's family in California, they found the mutation in Christopher's 8-year-old daughter Olivia. An immediate ophthalmological examination revealed a small tumor in her right eye, caught at an early stage. Michael sat in his office late one evening, reviewing the genetic reports. Out of 43 descendants tested, 7 carried the RB1 mutation. 3 had developed retinoblastoma as children. Vincent in 1957, Tyler, who had a tiny regressed tumor discovered only through the intensive screening prompted by the genetic finding, and now Olivia. 4 others were carriers who'd never manifested the disease, living their entire lives unaware they harbored the genetic time bomb. And it all traced back to 3 children in a 1903 photograph, to Maria and Giuseppe, who'd died of a disease no one understood, and to Angelina, who'd survived to pass the mutation forward through generations. Olivia's treatment began immediately. At 8 years old, she was old enough to understand something was wrong, but young enough to be terrified. Her parents, Christopher and Michelle, relocated temporarily from San Diego to Boston so she could receive treatment at Children's Hospital under Michael's supervision. Michael visited her hospital room 3 days before her first chemotherapy session. She was drawing pictures with markers, her brown hair pulled back in a ponytail, looking like any healthy child. "Are you the doctor who found my cancer by looking at an old picture?" she asked directly. Michael smiled. "I'm one of the doctors helping you. The photograph showed me that eye disease ran in your family a long time ago. That made us check you carefully. My dad showed me the picture on his phone. Those kids died, right?" Her bluntness caught him off guard, but he respected it. 2 of them did. The youngest one, her name was Angelina. She survived. She was your great-great-great-grandmother. How come they died, but I'm not going to? Michael pulled a chair close to her bed. Because medicine is different now. Back in 1903, doctors didn't have the tools we have today. They didn't understand what caused the disease or how to treat it without removing the whole eye. Now we have chemotherapy, medicine that can kill cancer cells. We have laser treatments, freezing treatments, and radiation that's much more precise. We caught your tumor when it was very small. Will I lose my eye? We're going to do everything possible to save it. The tumor is small and you're getting the best treatment available. Dr. Patterson will be your main oncologist, and he's helped lots of kids beat this." Olivia considered this, then returned to her drawing. After a moment, she asked, "If you hadn't seen that old picture, would anyone have found my cancer?" "Eventually, yes, but it might have been later when the tumor was bigger and harder to treat." She looked up at him with eyes that seemed far older than 8 years. "Then I guess I should thank those dead kids. They kind of saved me, right?" Michael felt his throat tighten. "Yes, Olivia, in a way they did." Over the following months, Olivia underwent 6 cycles of chemotherapy, followed by laser photocoagulation to destroy remaining tumor cells. The treatment was grueling, but her youth and the early detection worked in her favor. By month 8, her oncologist declared her in remission. She'd retained vision in both eyes, though she'd need monitoring for years to watch for recurrence. The Romano family case attracted attention in medical genetics circles. Michael co-authored a paper with Dr. Kim titled "Historical Photography as a Diagnostic Tool, Identifying Hereditary Retinoblastoma Across 5 Generations." It was published in the Journal of Medical Genetics in early 2020. The article detailed how a single museum photograph had led to genetic testing of 43 family members, identification of 7 mutation carriers, and early detection of cancer in one child who might otherwise have been diagnosed much later. But the story resonated beyond medical journals. Amanda Richardson at the Museum of Fine Arts organized a small exhibition called Photographs That Save Lives, featuring the Romano family portrait alongside modern images of the descendants who'd been tested, including a smiling photo of Olivia after completing treatment. Michael gave a talk at the exhibition opening, explaining how historical photographs could reveal medical clues invisible to the original photographers. When Antonio and Lucia Romano brought their children to that studio in 1903, they just wanted a family portrait, he told the audience. They had no way of knowing that the reflection in their children's eyes was a warning sign. But 116 years later, that same reflection led us to save Olivia's life, and potentially the lives of future generations. Lisa Romano Chen attended the exhibition with her entire extended family, 32 people spanning 4 generations. She stood before the original photograph for a long time, studying the face of her great-grandmother Angelina at age 4. She looked scared, Lisa said quietly to Michael, like she knew something terrible was happening to her family. "She survived," Michael reminded her, "and because she did, all of you are here." Vincent, now 65 and using a cane, joined them. He studied the faces of Maria and Giuseppe, the aunt and uncle he'd never met who'd died 7 decades before he was born. "We have the same eyes," he said. "Same shape, same expression. It's genetic, just like the mutation. We're connected across all these years." Robert's family came from Newton, 3 generations gathering to see the photograph that had changed their understanding of their own biology. Even though Robert's line had tested negative, they felt the weight of what might have been. "My daughter was pregnant when all this started," Robert told the crowd. "We didn't know if Sophia would have the mutation. Those weeks waiting for results were the longest of my life." 2 years after Michael first noticed the Romano family portrait, the photograph hung in a different context. The Museum of Fine Arts had created a permanent installation in their medical history section, with the Romano portrait as the centerpiece, surrounded by explanatory panels about retinoblastoma, genetics, and the intersection of art and medicine. Beside the original 1903 image was a new photograph, taken in 2021. 4 generations of Romano descendants gathered together, including 10-year-old Olivia, now cancer-free, holding baby Sophia, who just turned 2. The composition deliberately echoed the original, formal poses, serious expressions, but with one crucial difference. These children's eyes were clear and healthy, reflecting only light and hope. Michael visited the installation on a gray November afternoon. A young couple stood before the photographs, the woman visibly pregnant, reading the explanatory text with intense focus. "Excuse me," the woman said, noticing Michael's hospital identification badge. "Do you work here?" "Not at the museum. I'm a physician at Children's Hospital. Actually, I'm the one who noticed the medical signs in that original photograph." Her eyes widened. "You're Dr. Torres? Your name is all over these panels. You saved that little girl's life." "The photograph saved her life," Michael corrected gently. "I just recognized what it was showing us." The husband spoke up. "We're expecting our first child in 3 months. Reading this made us realize we have no idea what genetic conditions might run in our families. We should probably find out, right?" "It's worth discussing with your obstetrician," Michael agreed. "Genetic counseling can identify risks, though most families won't have anything as dramatic as this case." After they left, Michael stood alone before the 2 photographs, past and present, tragedy and survival, separated by 118 years, but connected by an unbreakable genetic thread. He thought about Maria and Giuseppe, children who'd died before modern medicine could save them. He thought about Angelina, who'd survived to pass on both the mutation and the possibility of life. He thought about Vincent, who'd beaten the disease in 1957 with primitive treatments. And he thought about Olivia, who'd triumphed with 21st century medicine guided by a photograph from the 20th century's dawn. The original portrait no longer seemed sad to him. Yes, it captured children on the edge of tragedy, showing a disease that would kill 2 of them. But it also preserved evidence that eventually protected their descendants, turning a static image of the past into an active guardian of the future. As Michael left the museum, his phone buzzed with a text from Jennifer, Robert's daughter. "Sophia's 2-year checkup perfect, eyes completely healthy. Thank you for everything." He looked back at the museum entrance one last time, thinking about Antonio and Lucia Romano, who'd spent precious money in 1903 to preserve an image of their children. They couldn't have known that their simple act of parental love, commissioning a family portrait, would echo across generations, ultimately saving lives more than a century after the shutter clicked. The photograph remained what it had always been, a family portrait from 1903, showing 3 children with an unusual reflection in their eyes. But it was also something more, proof that the past never truly dies, that evidence preserved can protect the future, and that sometimes the most important discoveries are hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right person to finally see what was always there.